Blog Talk Radio.
Welcome to Esquire Coaching Radio, where we help attorneys achieve unparalleled personal and professional success. And now here's your host, Ann Jenrette Thomas.
Welcome everyone to the Esquire Coaching Radio Show. It's such a pleasure to be here with all of you today. As you know, Esquire Coaching is a national coaching and consulting firm that is dedicated to helping lawyers achieve extraordinary whole life success. To that end, we discuss the full range of topics from building business to getting a job to work-life balance and everything in between. Today, we have a very special guest who's going to talk to us about cultivating inner peace. Now, one of the biggest challenges that we hear about at Esquire Coaching is that work-life balance for attorneys is a near impossibility. In fact, most lawyers have given up on the idea of work-life balance. Well, today, Reverend Ketema Mason is going to be talking to us about one critical aspect of work-life balance, and that is cultivating inner peace. Reverend Ketema Mason is a contributing author to the book, The Happy Law Practice, which is an Esquire Coaching book. He wrote the chapter on cultivating inner peace. He strongly believes that everyone has a unique expression to share with humanity and that inner peace is attainable by confidently affirming one's own truth. He hopes through his ministry he will be able to lead the charge for everyone to sense their individual greatness and endeavor to live a life worthy of that appearance. In the Man Up Empowerment Group, particularly, he leads a group of men to feel safe and empowered in their manhood and spirituality. It is Reverend Ketema's goal that the inner peace individuals achieve through his ministry will contribute to the outer peace of humanity as a whole. Reverend Ketema works at a local hospital in Sunset Park, Brooklyn, where he has provided over 12 years of healthcare administration. In his current position, he works on health metrics and clinic analytics, which are used to make high-level decisions regarding staffing, compliance, and patient care. While showing his intelligence on the analytical side, he also functions as a beacon of spirituality. In his opinion, there is a direct correlation between healthcare and spiritual wellness. Every day he gets closer to bridging the two together at new and dynamic expression. Today, Reverend Ketema will discuss some actionable steps to help attorneys cultivate their own inner peace as a way of achieving spiritual wellness. Welcome, Reverend Ketema.
Thank you, Ann. Thank you, everybody, in this moment to be able to share this time together. I'm looking forward to this dialogue and this next time together.
Me too. So I just want to remind our listeners, if you have a question for Reverend Ketema, there will be time at the end of this interview to call him and ask him directly. Simply call 347-838-8719 and press 1 to get in the queue. That's 347-838-8719 and press 1 to get in the queue. All right, Reverend, let's get started. Now, I know that you are an interfaith minister, so talk to us a little bit about what it means to be an interfaith minister.
Well, and we have priests, we have priests for Christians, we have rabbis for the Judaic religion. To be an interfaith minister takes on the dynamics of understanding all spiritual practices, all religions, all expressions of individual truth, as you so eloquently mentioned in the opening. So as an interfaith minister, I've taken the education and understanding of all spiritual truths, different religions, and different forms of individuality in terms of spiritual truth, and I was ordained recently as an interfaith minister. I have my own religion that I grew up in, a childhood religion. I also have a love and appreciation for all religions, which for me makes it very easy to be an interfaith minister. So I saw a saying somewhere that for an interfaith minister, it's not instead of, it's in addition to. So with that, it's just really, as you mentioned before, honoring the different truths of spirituality, religious context, and being able to minister to those people who consider themselves maybe spiritual but not religious. So I hope that my work in the future as an interfaith minister lends itself to those different forms of expression.
Okay, that's really great and a very thorough explanation of it. So thank you for that. Now, you know, the topic we are talking about today is cultivating inner peace. So, Reverend, talk to us about what is inner peace?
Well, you know, it has such a big meaning, and we hear buzzwords that can be connected to it, such as serenity, happiness, bliss, nirvana, consciousness, awareness. But to give it the definition to help people put it in a connotation meaning, it refers to the balance of peace between your mental, your physical, and spiritual well-being. Being in a state of peace can give you internal feeling of serenity and bliss that can serve as a healthy opposite to the stress and anxiety that you may experience as an attorney. With inner peace, you may be able to act deliberately rather than in a place of fear. You have the ability to appreciate the present and not judge your past harshly. You have a feeling of connectedness, which I think is important for the work you do, because as attorneys, you work with so many people, so many clients, managers, and families. So I think that connectedness that could occur in inner peace is really important. So I think those are the general meaning of inner peace, but really just the calm in the balance of, you know, spirituality, work, personal, and all different kind of contexts in those manners.
So what I'm really hearing is you said it right up off the top, which is this balance between mental, spiritual, physical. Now, when you say spiritual, go ahead.
Yeah, and I think it's easy for professionals to really just look at the work balance and focus on it. I'm going to be the best attorney that I could be. And I think there's an opportunity for individuals to honor the other side of that balance, to really create a balance. It's not just the whole, it's the parts that create the whole. So when you give yourself a chance to explore the other parts of that whole, the spirituality, the physical, the professional, I think you present a much more complete you and able to perform at a high level on all, you know, facets of your personal life, professional life, and spiritual life.
And, you know, just to clarify, because you did allude to this earlier, but spirituality does not necessarily mean religious. It just means something spiritual. Is that right?
Absolutely. There are so many forms of spirituality. I couldn't even begin, as an interfaith minister, I couldn't even begin to give you the definition of spirituality because it's so vast and so it varies. So it really depends on the human, you know, the individual and how they approach spirituality. There's no definition. And even in this moment, I'm glad there isn't a definition because it's not religion. It's really individual in how they do it. It could be as simple as just a calm moment of thought. It can be as vast as going to church. It could be any various context that they feel is important to them in that spiritual context. Again, there is no definition, but it's definitely present, you know, amongst us all.
I love that. I love that. And it sounds like, just from what you said, it can be a combination of something that complements your existing religious beliefs, or it can be something separate and apart from that. So let's talk a little bit about strategies. You know, we are talking to busy attorneys. We are talking to people who are trying to learn how to cultivate inner peace. Talk to us, Reverend, about some strategies, some things they can do to cultivate inner peace.
I think the most important thing that I want to do in this moment is to honor the fact that attorneys are really good at what you do. You've gone to school, you've taken the test, you've passed the bar, you're with whatever particular form of legal profession you're in. So I acknowledge the busyness that everyone has in doing the best job they can. So when I was thinking about these steps, it was important that I have things that are so easy to do, that are already there for them, based on how individuals show up in the legal profession. So one thing that I have is journaling and writing. And I've mentioned that, you know, attorneys, they write so much for various different reasons. But just imagine if you could take that writing skill and do a journal. Write the different occurrences of your day. Keep in mind, you're already writing for work, but now you're writing for yourself, and you're giving us a chance to jot down notes for yourself. What type of day did I have today? What did I like today? Writing maybe a vision statement for yourself, outlining where you see yourself in 1 year, in 2 years, a vision statement, just declaring how you arrive as an attorney. So I think journaling and writing is a really super important thing that you do. And again, you're already doing it, so you're not going out of your way to do this particular, actionable item. Another one is meditating. And again, another super simple thing that you already do, I would even compare it to when the judge gives a 15-minute recess. I almost feel like it's a moment for everyone to sort of meditate, whatever it is, if it was an intense exchange or a thought, but that's actually a form of meditation where you go back and collect your thoughts and think about the next step ahead. You're processing, you're taking a breath. That's a form of meditation. Again, something that already happens in the course of what you do. Listening. You're listening for anything that could be beneficial for yourself, your client, for whatever way you're showing up at work. But I also believe that in listening, you have an opportunity to listen to yourself in terms of your truth and hearing what's going on in your mind. Listening to music. Listening to nature. There are so many things that we could listen to without that intense attention that you give for work, because again, you're good at what you do and you're listening for cues and clues to be a great attorney. But imagine if you could then take that listening skill that you've already mastered and apply it to things that you enjoy, like I said, music, nature, and things of that sort. Traveling. I look at traveling as the spice of life. To be able to, and it happened to me very recently when I was coming from vacation, and when I was coming in, I had my passport, and even the person at customs who has to stamp, he says, Reverend Mason, you travel a lot. And I could look at it in various ways, but what I noticed is, and I was very glad that he noticed that, because it's a very important part of my life to be able to travel, to internalize different cultures, different sights and sounds, and I believe that broadens your heart space because you have all of these external senses expanded. As attorneys, one, you have the financial well-being to travel. I think there's an opportunity for you to see the different places in the world that gives light to what's out there, that it's not just about work, it's not just about home life, that there's this broad, dynamic world out there that you have the ability to internalize. And I think that, I hope it's not, but, that's why I mention it now. It's an ability for something for all of you to do, is to tap into that ability to travel, to see the world, to take pictures, to have memories to share, so that it's not just about a legal briefing or whatever conversation that takes on in the legal context. Just imagine talking about, I had a trip to Europe. I backpacked across, Mexico. Those are broad, those are rich conversations that can be had with your colleagues and really could kind of give way to a new expression in terms of how you show up for work. I mentioned the vision and projecting, just constantly keeping a forward progress of where and how you want to show up in the world. Again, that could be as simple as writing it down or having a vision board, hanging up pictures. So if you see yourself in a position, you could have a picture of a suit or a building. There's different ways to project how you want to proceed in life. So I think there's an opportunity for that in terms of individuality. Another one that I like is healthy indulgence. And I want to put an emphasis on the word healthy. This can be you, because when I was thinking about this, is actually something you can overindulge in. But if you go to when you were a child and you think about your parents made you a meal when you weren't your best, you were probably in a bad mood or whatever it was, and they made you a meal and you had that meal and it's like, I feel better now. So I think that there's an opportunity to create that euphoria in the now. Is there a favorite meal that you like? Do you enjoy wearing a brand new suit? So is there a chocolate you like? Whatever it is, in a healthy indulgence, I believe that there's a way that you could achieve that childhood euphoria in the moment. That would be beneficial.
These are great, because I think one of the things that you're doing here is giving some really practical tips on, it sounds like, how to just regain that balance, how to just take even a few moments to get back into a place of peace or equilibrium or something that's much more productive than the normal chaos or the 100 miles per hour that we're used to. So let's, one of the things that's heartening is I'm seeing more and more that lawyers are open to meditation. I'm seeing, for example, the New York City Bar Association has a meditation group of lawyers, and at a recent NALP conference, there was a whole panel discussion on mindfulness and mindfulness meditation. So I can see that more and more attorneys are gravitating toward that. But, you mentioned a couple of things like journaling. How does journaling, for example, help cultivate inner peace?
Well, I think it serves as therapy. Depending on the individual, because, I would imagine that as an attorney, attorneys express themselves in various contexts, but they probably don't get a chance to realize what's going on inside them. So with journaling, you get to write down what you feel. You can curse, you could vent, you could be happy, you could even be sad. These are, because as an attorney, you have to be, I would imagine, a certain appearance. But in your journal, you could be your most authentic self. And I believe as a form of therapy, when you get to release whatever it is, your stress, your anxiety, your happiness, and see it and be able to look at it, read it, and internalize it, I think that's when you're able to kind of achieve the balance that you didn't realize was out of sorts just because you were appearing so fruitfully for work. So seeing that on paper and looking on it serves as a great mindful reflection to connect into how you were doing during the course of that day.
That makes so much sense. Really just being able to have a pure space, where you don't have to edit and just kind of really get everything out. That makes a lot of sense. I want to just take a moment to remind our listeners, if you have a question directly for Reverend Ketema, start calling in now, 347-838-8719, and press 1 to get in the queue. That's 347-838-8719, and press 1 to get in the queue. So, Reverend, now one of the benefits of having you here to be interviewed is that you also have a background in health and human services. How do you navigate your understanding of stressors relating to the legal profession from that perspective?
Well, I believe that becoming an interfaith minister has given me the ability to increase my level of discernment and connect to community as a whole. As you mentioned in the question, as a health and human service specialist, I believe lawyers and attorneys and myself, we're here to help. We're here to help humanity in an individual context. So in the healthcare field, I'm helping people in the health capacity. As an attorney, you're helping people in the legal capacity. So I believe there's that commonality that exists between the two professions. So the stressors, that attorneys feel are similar to an extent as those in the healthcare profession, because remember, again, we're helping people. So I think there's a commonality that lies, and it's not even, empathy or sympathy. It's just we have that common connectiveness to helping people. So for me, I'm able to relate to it, not to the specific dynamics of it, but to that commonality I mentioned between helping humanity.
That makes sense. Now, you gave us a lot of great different strategies that people can use to take a few minutes out and cultivate inner peace. Where do you draw your knowledge, tips, concepts, and ideas on inner peace from?
And these are mostly things that I've done over the course of my life, things that felt important. When I was in seminary, a lot of different ideas thoughts were given words. I was able to give it the words. I didn't mention worshiping. Meditating, I was able to understand the different dynamics of meditating. So really, it's just the course of my life experience that I've led in 30 plus years, but then also cultivating that in the education of seminary to give me tips, concepts, ideas that I was able to say, these are what I believe is beneficial to achieving and cultivating inner peace. So a lot of them are things that I've done, heard, and seen, and it's really an evolving process. And if I was to write that chapter all over again, it would be probably from 12 to 14, and then by tomorrow, 14, 16. I could think of a couple to add on even as we speak.
Oh, that's great. I mean, so this is a constant evolution for you.
And I think that's great that cultivating inner peace is a process, because I mentioned it in my chapter that no one size fits all. And even as we mentioned in the beginning, it's about the individual and how they get to their truth. So I would think that there's probably numerous ways of cultivating inner peace. And, maybe down the line I'll be able to just write a whole book on it to help. Probably still needing to add chapters down the line, but like you mentioned just now, an evolution of sorts to get to that point.
And, just to remind our listeners, the book that he's referencing is The Happy Law Practice, where he wrote the chapter on cultivating inner peace, and you can get a copy of that on Amazon.com. Now, one of the things that is really key here is being able, to, you mentioned earlier, visualizing and projecting. Now, how does visualizing where you want your life to be help cultivate inner peace?
I would say that relating it to even where I'm now, work-wise, I'm thinking and feeling that a change is necessary, and I started to visualize and project where I'd like to be, putting words, putting a calendar, putting pictures to help intimate where I'd like to be based on projection and visioning. I think it's helpful because it gives you a picture of your own life. I mean, it's so easy to watch TV and to fall into the imagination that's created for other people. I believe that visioning and projection creates that TV, that show, that movie for your own life that you can look at and say, that's not so-and-so actor or actress, that's actually me. And that's me living it out, and it gives a perspective in where you can be and how you can get there. And I think it's really good to see those visual words, pictures, symbols that represent the show of your own life, helping you to see where you can be. So if you're in a moment of stress in the various contexts, like, that's not my reality forever. That's just a moment in time. And when that commercial break comes and it comes back to this new scene, that will be me in the future. I just think it's a great space to create yourself to have that as a practice for any attorney.
Oh, that's great. Really quickly, one of the things that I think people get afraid of when we talk about things like inner peace is they think that they have to become some kind of monk, and step away from practicing law and then all of a sudden just go to the top of the Himalayas and meditate and pray all day long. Now, please debunk this myth for our listeners.
Yeah, I think that it's funny because even when I was writing the book, I had a specific view of what an attorney is, and it's so broad, and you helped me understand that. And just like spirituality, just like the different various sacred texts, it's not just one thing. It's so wide and it's so individualistic. So it's not just, yoga is not just about sitting in the lotus position. It's actually just be meditating. There's various different yogas. There's various different texts. There's various different ways to achieve it. So it's not just that one image that you have of a monk. It could be as simple as just taking a deep breath, dropping into your heart space, and breathing. So there's so many different ways that could show up. But yeah, it's just like the popular pop view of how you could get to that point, but various different ways to get to that.
And I have to just reiterate, I think that, part of the reason why this is an important topic that we wanted to cover on our show today is we want to give you effective strategies so that as you cultivate inner peace, you become a better lawyer, your thinking becomes sharper, your ability to handle stress is better, your ability to become more of an authentic person and more of a leader is greater, your capacity for empathy is greater. And this is why this subject is so important to us. We only have a couple of minutes left, Reverend, so, what is the message that you would like for our listeners, our attorneys, to carry with them after listening to this show?
I would say that the most important message is one, you are good at what you do, and that achieving inner peace is already with you. We've mentioned a lot of tips that could achieve that already. And to understand that mastering what your truth is to get to inner peace helps you show up so bright and vibrant as an attorney, and also realize that when you achieve your inner peace, to establish that you're in connectiveness to, fairness in the judicial system. You're helping your fellow man and woman. So when you have peace and you achieve inner peace based on what we talked about today, you also get a chance to achieve outer peace. And how magnificent to know that the work that you do every day helps to contribute to us achieving the outer peace that I think humanity so richly deserves. So I commend attorneys for what you do. We are thankful that you're into our society and humanity, and continue to show up healthy with spiritual help, that you continue to help us in the ways that's unique to you and humanity.
Oh, so beautiful, so beautiful. Thank you so much, Reverend Ketema. Tell us how our listeners can reach you should they have a question for you.
Yes, I am set up on the various social media platform and in the construction of ReverendKetemaMason.com. I'm also on Twitter at Reverend Ketema. I'm also on Facebook, and if I mentioned it too fast, my information is in the Happy Law Practice. So please look me up if you have any questions or want to follow with me in an interfaith capacity.
Wonderful. So thank you so much for this wonderful, enlightening, uplifting interview. And I want to just let our listeners know, let's keep this conversation about cultivating inner peace going. Let's talk about it. Join us on Facebook. Tell us what you think on LinkedIn, on Twitter. Tell us what are the strategies you use to help bring you back in balance and just calm things down. Next week, join us as we kick off Gay Pride Month with an interview with Jen T. Grace, who will talk to us about marketing to the gay and lesbian community. Until then, be well, everyone.